catching dreams without blue skies floating by. Why are the grey clouds forming overhead? Forming overhead. I'm trying to breathe, I'm following a path mapped out from the start. Why do my dreams keep moving out of sight? Moving out of sight. Sunshine that I seek shines faintly through the smoke. Layers of fantasy, images that blind us to our lives. Blind us to our lives. And I'm trying to see, I'm juggling with my things, I'm struggling with the cold. And I'm spinning in a vortex of burning wells, of burning wells. Ooh, and my head's on fire. Oh, where's the love? Yeah.
Well, hi everyone, this is Dancing with Magic Part 4, and we're going to continue into the exploration of our direct experiences with apathy, denial, and the trauma that we've had with many people who've come and stayed with us. Most importantly is that it mirrored to us our own stuff through everybody that's been who's come and visited us. Those of you who've been watching these videos, it's not about you. It's about all of us collectively and what has become of us. And what we're very grateful for is that having these experiences has challenged us to change the way we think, has challenged us the way we approach what we do with our lives, and so that we get better.
And it's made us realise how much more we still have to go. You know, every time we're learning something new, it's like, my goodness, how much further do we have to go to let go of our own apathy, denial, drudgery, you know, sense of, oh, it's too hard, sense of poor me, sense of the victim stuff. It's, you know, it's all there for all of us if we're brave enough to face it and admit it, which we really need to do if we're to let it go.
And then the control trips. It's amazing just how much the power control projected through the ego. This man has had a lot of these issues throughout most of this man's life. Huge control issues, buried deep underneath distrust issues, not able to trust others, because of the that sense of having been betrayed, abandoned, left defenseless against the sexual abuse that was done to this man many times when he was a child. It's a life project to step out of the system, because without healing these things, meaning we've got to be conscious of these things and how they actually play out, because we're reacting the storytelling of that history, that what happened to us. If we don't catch ourselves seeing that we're stepping into these programs and being conscious enough to change it right there and then and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit there and marinate on this anymore. We keep giving out energy to the ego, which keeps projecting that history, which forces us to fall into the reflections where we bathe in the trauma.
Yeah, one thing that has been very interesting with many people who've come to visit us, to stay with us, they've brought with them their baggage and their, just what Arthur's talking about, their scenarios that they've been setting up all their lives and continue to set up, and then they come, and if they get challenged too much or triggered, they start creating the exact same scenario with us, whereas the fact we're not really the problem, because they've been carrying that same scenario with them before they came to us. So, not saying that we're perfect. Again, we've got to repeat that, because we always get people who think we are. But so many times, and we've been guilty of the same things, putting what we expect, what we've been conditioned to learn to expect because of our thoughts about ourselves and who we are, and so we just start making that happen. And one of the biggest things is the conflict, and sometimes it's so subtle, but just how in a conversation conflict can come up, and that so often arises because whoever's in the conversation, who has the conflict within them, which is about how they are and how they feel about who they are, and often self-esteem issues, trust issues, all that sort of thing, they have to create that conflict so they can be reassured that yes, they're right, they're scum, they're useless, they're no good, they're not worthy, all those thoughts, and they can prove it to themselves because look, the same conflict's just happened again.
Yeah, there's the evidence.
Whereas
That's
if they just really took the time honestly, without all the emotions clouding them, to look at what's gone on, they can see that they were actually the ones starting the conflict. Like, it can be really simple conversations about nothing, about food or about who fed the cat or something, and if there's that little trigger of I now feel not so good about myself, they've got to create the conflict to prove it to themselves.
Yeah, they project it. Fee and I have had, in our early stages of our relationship, in fact, probably for at least the first 10, 12, maybe even 14 years, this man has been a nightmare for her. The gift of our relationship, in spite of her stuff and this man's stuff, is that we had no back door. We did not have a back door. We're prepared to stick it out. We've had our moments where I wanted to leave, and in fact I was even packing a couple of times to leave. And, and I'm telling you, I don't want to be anymore.
And I'm trying to give him the dummy. Put the dummy in his mouth, suck on that, suck on that.
And and with Fiona, where she sort of becomes Mrs. Ice Cold Bitch, and not that she is, but she does that. She can be Mrs. Ice Cold Bitch.
Whereas he's the volcano.
And I'm the
You're the volcano.
Yeah, but both ways, they're control mechanisms. They're power. We are passive aggressives. Whether we're shut down and we're quiet and be the cold bitch, she's a passive aggressive, using as her control mechanism to dominate.
Because it gives no room for people to come in. It gives it's keeping the control and keeping people out. Whereas the other way is to be explosive like him,
which is
but it's also like push people out, which comes from the distrust.
Yeah,
which
fuck
comes
off everybody,
from
out of my space.
That's
ego,
and that's what most of us are, because having grown up in the system, I mean, a lot of people, they have a few people who they can really count as a really good friend or family members that they really trust and can really relate to and be honest with, but generally it's very, very few people, which means as a whole, as it were, most of us have a lot of mechanisms which is all about pushing people away because we're scared that they're going to take advantage of us, that they're going to let us down, all these sorts of things.
Which has actually happened to us, because these are the things that usually happen, or we then begin to marinate as children, and we garnish these things and we marinate them so much we blow them completely out. So as the years go by and we fall into drugs, we amplify them even more and more for such small little things that may have happened, turned into major, major issues that can impact 20, 30, 40, 50 years of one's life.
And that's also why sometimes then someone will react in whatever way they react over something seemingly small. And so other people are thinking, what was all that about? When it was just, such and such. But the fact is, what the person who's reacted has brought with them is all those stories from the past 20, 30 years and condensed them into that moment, because to them, it's the same thing repeating again. But something I was just thinking, the fact is, this thing of, I'm being let down, I'm being this, I'm being that, is a sign of our weakness and our lack of our doubt and uncertainty. Because do you know what? If you're really strong and sure in who you are, you know who you are, you know what you're doing. If someone comes along and one, you don't spot them, well, that's your fault. And two, they do something that lets you down. It's their problem.
Yeah, they let themselves down.
It's really not your problem.
Exactly.
So if you're really strong and sure in yourself, you're going to go, well, you know what? One, I was an idiot because I let them into my life and I didn't spot what they were about. And two, well, it's their problem. I just have to clean up the mess if there's any and carry on. And if we all have the I don't like to use the word faith, the security in who we are, it's not going to affect us and drop us down. It's only when we have this doubt and uncertainty and the confidence that we start going, oh, but they did this to me and they hurt me and they this blah 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 blah. Whereas really it comes down to we have to take responsibility. We let them into our lives. Yep. We were the ones who said yes and opened the door, which sounds like I'm contradicting what I said about we push everyone away all the time, but there's a difference between pushing people away out of the fear and the doubt and the uncertainty,
the ego projecting, yeah,
and having the strength to say, look,
no,
just fine, I'm just going to keep you at arm's length because I don't trust you and I think you're going to...
Well, you're not taking responsibility. Yeah. You're not willing to take responsibility for the behaviour and the attitude, and there's no need allowing our lives to be exposed to that, because then basically you're telling us, this is what they're saying, get fucked. It's passive aggressive. Fuck you.
I mean, I guess it's like your children. When your children step out of line, you show them, no, that's not the way to behave. This is not how you do things. And that's what it is. Obviously, you're not treating the other person as a child, but you have a right to stand. We had a discussion about unconditional love on Facebook where a woman was going, oh, but our unconditional love, I'm not going to let anyone walk all over me. Unconditional love is not letting everyone walk all over you. It's being the love. You can be that love, but you can still stand up for who you are in your family and say, actually, no, thank you. You have a right to behave how you want to, but I also have a right not to accept that.
People actually steal you because they want your life force energy to feed the conflict of the ego they project. And because while they continue projecting the history of that crap, they're bathing in it, and they need the life force energy from those they're having a conflict with while they're bathing in it to keep feeding it, so they stay there and they never want to leave. And you can practice doing this sabotage of who we really are, and for your whole life, and we never ever break away. I mean, one of the going back to us, we have had hundreds of ding dongs, hundreds, major screaming battles, all kinds of shit because of our backgrounds, and we eventually got to the point that we started laughing about our shit because we got our confidence between each other, and we felt secure in each of us felt secure that we could actually argue with each other, not because we want to argue, because we're really unloading in the moment shit that we are experiencing. And we became attentive to each other's shit, not to perpetuate the shit, but with the intent to work out where's it coming from. And then we discussed that, and Fiona's very good with sitting down, whether it's days later, because in the old days, when I got angry, I was angry. You couldn't come near this guy for 3 or 4 days. I would be just volatile, absolutely ballistic. And that was it. No one in. And that was my control mechanism. And I'm saying to everybody, fuck you all, fuck Fee, and it's that little boy saying, I've been walked over, I've been treated like shit, I wasn't safe, I never felt protected. My mother left me with people who then took me away, and where I was sexually abused by 5 people who fucked me over, up the arse, you name it. I saw all this, I know these things happened to me. It happened in a Greek church with Greek people. And I know there were many things that happened to me. But the thing is that it's no longer about them and what they did. It's about how I'm managing what happened and how I can learn to reclaim the real man in spite of all these things. Fee has also done that because of the way she became repressed, because she was deeply repressed, where I became more volcanic and more explosive in the moment. I never cared about when it was thought about me. I really didn't give a fuck about anyone anymore, and I have been like this for a long time. I would just go block and unload. So in our relationship, we sort of come from these extremes. If you look at the, Miss Man Volcanic, or this Fiona's up here and I'm down here, it doesn't matter. We eventually, through the years, we learnt through our shit to start to find some common ground, until we found that common ground. And that came from that true love, where she really loved me, and she was unconditional in the fact that she wasn't wanting something from me. I learned that I no longer wanted something from her. What happened? We started to have a collective dream together, where we wanted to create a way of life that we both saw ourselves projecting our real lives into and being that. And that became the Love for Life work. It became the Kingdom Dream. And from that, as information came along, people came and gone out of our lives, it became a deeper inquiry, a deeper investigation, a deeper collaboration of discussion. And we must have talked and talked and talked about so many things. As people came and gone out of our lives, as circumstances presented to each of us because things had happened to her wherever she was, the children were a great source of this discussion. And it was the attention to detail. It was the discipline to focus in on the shit and not be afraid of it. Mm. That we came together with no pride. We had no vanity. We were raw, absolutely raw in our shit. And we've been healing. We're not saying that we're completely out of it. I don't think we are.
No.
But we're on the road to getting to where we set out from the beginning, because we did not give up on the dream. We did not.
No, the most thing we still got things to learn, but we've been prepared, both of us, to look at ourselves very closely in the mirror and admit to what is our shit and just how ugly it is. Because all of us, the shitty stuff is ugly. It's really ugly. It's very, very ugly.
Really,
but
really
you have,
ugly.
if you're going to let it go, you have to be prepared to look at exactly what you do. Like, oh yeah, when that happens and I do this and then I say this and I'm trying to actually get my way by this, but still make it look like I'm all lovely and rosy and giving, but actually I'm trying to manipulate here and get what I want and get them to do what I want, all the while looking like I'm covered in rose. You know, all these things.
Fake.
All these things that we do in what are in a myriad different ways, because we all have our different personalities, don't like to use that word, but we've all developed these survival mechanisms where we try and control and manipulate to get what we want. We don't have the confidence most of the time to be able to be upfront and straight about what's going on. It doesn't have to be being rude and nasty to people, but actually being upfront. And well,
if you don't practice your push-ups every day, you're not going to build the strength in your shoulders. If you don't practice the sincerity and purity of your intention in a no holds barred, absolutely ring battle, we're boxers in the ring battle, but not to hurt each other, just simply to unload all our shit until we get to the bottom of it, not to dump all my shit on Fiona and make her feel the shit that I am, or vice versa. It was more, the intention was, we don't want to be held back anymore in the shit that is the system, because we see it everywhere. The more we were into the inquiry, which, look, we did up 3,500 debates. We have been brutal in our debates with so many people who probably, some of them, hate us, particularly this man, hate this man. They don't usually hate Fiona. They usually ignore Fiona because she's so nice. But they usually come after me. And you'll see this, if anyone wants to investigate into the extent of these debates, it's no holds barred. We go absolutely like Exocet missiles, and we unload on these people, their lies and the deception of these lies, because we developed those skills between us to not let each other get away with the rackets and routines that would have given us a fake relationship, and we could have lived together for most of our lives in a shit crap way.
And we see so many people who do have fake relationships in the way that doesn't mean they hate each other, but there's usually a pattern of power and control going on somewhere where one of them has more the upper hand and the other one has just acquiesced to that, which sometimes suits them, because sometimes they're someone who likes someone else to take the responsibility for what goes on, and so they can be peaceful together. You know, it doesn't mean they're in all the time. They can be peaceful, but there's a pattern of control and condition. And I mean, one of the biggest things for me to learn has been having to just let Arthur go to do this work, because even though I've always been supporting and doing a lot of the writing and all that, he's the one who's sitting there thinking, working out, networking, researching, all that.
And then talking with you and arguing with you about it.
Because I've had, children to look after, but it's having to let that go and and not be so conditional about, okay, but you should be helping me now with this or that or the other around the house, and why am I doing more of the domestics and all that sort of stuff. But it's all part of your neediness when you have to get someone, you feel that someone should act in a certain way.
You want something from them.
Yeah, you want something from them.
And that's what the system is all about, because the whole slave system and all the emotional trauma-based behaviours that form the life of the less than a man in the relationships of less than a man, be it in a marriage or be it in sport, fashion, or any aspects of the system, you see this stuff play out.
Nearly everybody's got expectations about how their partner should be and behave, and obviously they want their partner not to be like sort of bashing them around the place and abusing them or whatever, but within the parameters of decent behaviour. It's, you know, we need to be able to give each other the freedom to do what we need to do.
In the fundamentals of this, Fiona agreed to support this man to pull out of the system, because we both had agreed we want to live in a way of life, a paradise way of life, and we wanted to learn what that was, where we don't live the harm. Now, we experienced the harm because we had the family home stolen from us by organised crime, and it was condoned and supported and protected by people in the law, in the judiciary, people in the priesthoods who we contacted, people in the media, people in the political service. We hammered and hammered and hammered for the first year or two. From 2005 to 2007, we did everything we possibly can to bring to everyone's attention this fraud inside Macquarie Bank and what they did, and how they switched contracts, and how the law was set up as a just us. It was never about justice, it was just us. And we were lambs to the slaughter, and we didn't see what was happening. So, because of this man's childhood and all the issues this man has had, there's just been so many, it came to a head after nearly 20 years in business with the issues this man had and the problems this man has had even in business. And regardless whether we became successful or not, materially, commercial, what, we were still, I think both of us were still, we were those horses looking over the fence of greener pastures. We were not happy with what we had. We were not at peace. And we saw this in everyone else around us. So as we went through the journey of the devastation of what happened to us with inside Macquarie Bank and the stealing of the family home, and seeing us ending up close to destitution and poverty, because we were. We spent when we started Love for Life in 2005, in the first year, we had long periods where we were struggling to have food in the cupboards. We had no way of surviving. And that was because Fiona agreed to let this man pull out to investigate this mess and find a way how we can navigate out of this. Because we wanted to know, what is it that caused no community immunity? Because one of the things that my mother instilled in me was the fact that harm to you is harm to me. My mother used to sort of talk about these sort of things in her way. And I must have developed in my own way, and and as I grew up, I sort of had that thing about that. I always thought about the fairness and how we need to have fairness all around us to have that. So, to bring it back to this situation, and you can find all this on the homepage of the Love for Life website. You can find the links there to go and look into the background of all this stuff that led to us doing the Love for Life work. But the thing was that we got it during the battles in the law, in the courts, that we knew we had to get out of the law. The remedy was not inside the system. We got to see, everyone was kept telling us, should be right, mate. No worries, mate. It'll be looked after. They will sort it out, because the evidence was just so in your face. And no matter where we turned, should be right, mate. No worries, mate. Meaning, I'm too busy with my footy to get involved. I'm too busy surviving my own mortgages. I'm too busy getting my kids through school. I'm too busy, maintaining my interest with porno and whatever. I'm too busy with my social life and all the other things. And we got to see the depth of this, how so many of us, we're talking about us too, we were there. We were the problem. We were the problem. And we wanted to work out, how did we get into this mess? How come there was no community immunity? Where if we were being taken and stolen for everything we had, we never committed a crime, never injured anyone, never stole anything from anybody. And we worked hard to have a beach house on the beach.
That was our only house.
That was our only house.
2 or 3.
And we used it to survive. So we wanted to change our lives and use it to build a future for our children in the system. We never committed crimes. We never committed fraud or nothing in that way. And yet, Macquarie Bank was allowed to run these scams and make up all these fictitious contracts and then have them be protected. So they could then steal all the hard work we put in all those years to build up the equity in that and to build up the future dream for us and just say, fuck you. That's how it was. Fuck you. We are scum. That's how it was looked upon. And everyone kept saying to us, she'll be right, no worries, mate. And we kept saying, all right, we're scum. They haven't
Well, we
got
do
time.
have to say some people helped us. But
Yeah, but generally speaking, overall, that's how we got to see it. So Fee said, okay, I'll support you, Arthur, in pulling out of the system. Completely pulling out. Dropping everything. So we went from being a family where this man was consistently bringing in $4,000 a week income with a reasonable lifestyle. We're stretched and maxed in many areas, which most people are in the system, with credit and debt and all the other things, and well, equity and all that's been building up. We decided that she's going to become the income earner, living off her strawman account where her signature generates from her Sestacue Trust, her bond, the fictional dollars, which is administrated by the Freemasonic world, that controls Medicare, controls Centrelink, controls every facet of the system. Each of us, through the signature, is what creates the fictional dollars. They don't create it because they don't own it to create it, because they don't want the curse to come back on them. They want us to own it, so we create it. We take on the curse because it is slave labour. The money that we create from the signature is the reflection of the projection of the ego of our slave status, determining our commercial value that we perform in the matrix under the ABC 1, 2, 3 storytelling of our brainwashing, where we spend all our lives living in that. So Fiona agreed. She already knew that that's what she was doing. She knew that. I will carry the weight. I'll use the strawman account. I will take on all the contracts. Arthur, you drop everything. So Arthur dropped driver's license, dropped car. I didn't write to anyone because we already knew, we sensed it, that no one's our master. We're not answerable to anybody. And so from 2006 through to 2009, 2010, it all just faded away. This man stopped using the name, had no more bank accounts, Visa cards, no more passports, Medicare, nothing. And this man now lived under this woman's stewardship to provide the roof for this man, because she's the one renting. She's the one got the contracts, electricity and gas. She's the one got the contract with the mobile phones. She's the one who has the bank accounts where the gifts get sent from supporters. She carries it all. 100%. 100%. This man carries zilch. Nothing. And it meant this man could wake up, go to bed. Wake up, go to bed. Wake up, go to bed, day after day, and just contemplate on this dilemma. Why there's no community immunity. Why we are all in this mess. And thus began Love for Life. And from that, 3,500 debates, highly explosive debates in some of them. Thus began all the abuse, all the surveillance, and everything that's been thrown at us up to this point to try to discredit us, to take us off the trail. We've had many intel come along and say, you guys have to move. You've got to move. Go. Get out of here. It's not safe. We've had some very close friends of ours who died, who we know, or this man knows, were murdered. It's left like they died, but they were murdered because of the threat of what we stand for and the working relationships of many of us coming together to create a true breaking away of the system, which is what we live for. So from that, Fiona and I, we went through with this dream, because what we're saying is we live for that dream, and we came with no back door. We were not prepared to sabotage it. Even when we had those highly, highly explosive, volatile situations that came from both of us at different times. Even if this man instigated to bring up the repression from Fiona, so it all comes to the surface and she spills it all out because she didn't have the confidence to express a lot in the early days. But she's got the confidence now. She's got the baseball bat, and now she can swing it pretty hard and quick and no mucking around because she's confident. She doesn't care what I say or more. Her sense of belonging is not based on what I do or anyone else. It's how she is. And now she's grown, she's no longer a victim to what other people do to her around her in that way. And this is what this man's learned too. This man's learned, I'm no longer responsible for how I feel by placing it on Fiona and make her responsible. Meaning I'm not going to play games of smartness and clever aloofness games and power control trip kind of games where we say all the right words and we speak all the right words and we write all the right things, right? But we don't walk the talk. We actually walk the talk. We really do. We walk the talk, and it's brutal. It's brutal. Because if we're going to leave the system, we cannot bring anything of it with us to go back to kingdom, to go back to paradise. You cannot bring anything. So the whole Love for Life work is a schematic diagram that we zoomed out and zoomed in and looked at all the fine details. And so these videos is we're getting into. We're going to explore the apathy, the denial, the fakeness, and how so many of us are so fake. And how we talk about freedom, we talk about consciousness, and we get caught up in these groups like, freedom is within. Freedom is within, guys. The Dalai Lama talks about that. To first find peace in your environment, you must first find peace within. Now you see these kind of psyop programming tactics, they're subliminal, right? But let me tell you, if we can tell you, there is no freedom within or freedom without. Because freedom is not a journey to freedom. There is no destination to freedom. That's a lie. It's during the journey to freedom that actually it's the journey to freedom. We are dumb and stupid because we're not being that freedom here and now in present sense. If we're not living and being that freedom in every area of our lives right now, then we're not free. Thinking and talking about that freedom is the projection of the ego into the matrix where we reflect the storytelling of those lies. We're lying. If we're on a path on this freedom journey, heading from somewhere to somewhere else, because Earth is turning and we're turning and the solar system's turning and the sun is, and we're going around the sun and it's all turning and going around the galaxies and it's all turning and everything is turning and turning and turning. All this is bullshit, guys. None of this is happening. Right? What you see with your eyes is true. Everything explained to you about what you see is not true. But what we're saying, these clever psyop programs will condition you to give up taking full responsibility for your life here and now, so you are not that living freedom. Because now you're trained to pass it over to the afterlife, because it no longer matters now. We've got the next life. We're infallible, etc., etc.
Or it doesn't matter because we're just a tiny blot and then we're going to die and there's nothing else.
Well, that's what they teach you. We're tiny aspects, little tiny aspects.
For atheists who don't believe in an afterlife, theirs is, well,
yeah, they just pass the buck.
And I'm going to
that's apathy and denial.
Be buried, and that's it.
Yeah, it's apathy, denial, powerlessness, hopelessness, no passion, no drive. All these things all come into it. But the thing is, another one is if you accept within all this bullshit, if you accept that there's a God in heaven and a Jesus by his side, and you can accept a hierarchy of archangels to cherubs as part of the coincide programming of this bullshit, because we're projecting the images through the water of our breath, and with all of us doing it and all the generations, we're creating these apparitions, and we're experiencing it because it's man's breath, and we experience it and we think these are true. We're actually deceiving each other We're lying to each other, lying to our children and destroying them when we do this. But if we accept the idea of a God in heaven, with a hierarchy of archangels to cherubs, the subliminal programming of accepting a compartmentalized hierarchical system, as above, so below, you'll accept it as the church with its hierarchical system. Because you've been conditioned to perceive all these things around you. And we call it government with a hierarchical system. We call it the rule of law with a hierarchical system. We talk about the church, the Catholic Church, the Church of England, and every other church. It's hierarchical. Get inside it more. It's the system of the storytelling of this bullshit. And all we're doing is giving our power away to others who are telling us how to think and feel. Because to accept these subliminal programs of earth turning and spinning and all these other things about gods in heaven, right? We've had to be brainwashed through the ABC 1, 2, 3 to be put under the spelling. And we continue spelling because we're reading English and we talk English and we see English. And so we are lost. And we wake up and we go to church because it's now Sunday. And we've accepted the hierarchy of priests and put them onto a higher standing than us. And made them as the middleman. These Freemasons, the middleman between us and God. Not realizing that there is no middleman. There is no high or low. And there is no other God in that way. Because we are it. We are the only first party to the experience. No one can bring forward an experience without man being a party to that experience. Be that thought, feeling, whatever. Only man can come forward. We are the only ones. See, all thoughts of the past and the future needs us to exist here and now to think and feel them. If we don't exist here and now, no thoughts of the past or the future can be thought or felt, can be experienced here and now. We are the only ones. When someone talks about God, it's man who comes forward to talk about God. When someone talks about aliens, UFOs, it's only man. When you talk about anything, it's only man to the experience. We are the only first parties. Oh, but the aliens exist. They're out there. God exists. Jesus exists. These other dimensions exist. And we say to them, well, bring them forward as first parties without another man acting on behalf of them. When we say, bring forward Alice and Wonderland as first parties without little Mary acting as Alice in Wonderland. We want to hear it directly from Alice. We want to hear it from the tongue of God. We want to hear it directly from the tongue of the aliens and the reptilian shapeshifters and the UFOs. And we want to be able to experience where they are all the time, like the trees and the birds and the wind and the rain and the living. They're going to be present with the presence of life amongst the living all the time. And if the Freemasons want to use some trickery with this, and they claim that there is some alien hierarchies, we're going to say, okay, we want you, aliens, you, whoever you claim that you are, if you think you are a higher power, because if you're telling us we're going to give up our responsibility because somehow your influences are going to force us to go into some new order, some man-made system, because we're going to kowtow down to you because, oh my God, you're aliens from another world, you're a higher power. Oh yes, we must go with that. We're going to say, fuck you. Move that mountain side over there, from there to over there, right now, if you're a higher power. Move that river from there to over there, without nothing being harmed, if you're a high power. We want to see this before our eyes. And if you can't fucking do it, fuck off. Get out of our fucking lives, you fucking liars. Because that's what Freemasons do. They trick you with this bullshit. They trick you. Right? So, what we're getting back to get back to this denial and apathy, because this is denial and apathy. Jesus saved us. Allah saved us. Muhammad has saved us. The Galactic Federation is coming to save us. Nasara is coming to save us. The politicians are out there saving us. They're laughing at you. They're saying to everybody, get fucked. You're all a scum. They talk in a subliminal double speak, triple speak language, because every letter of the English language is coded. And if you don't know the meaning of the letters, and they don't teach you the meaning of each letter, they talk to you in very clever ways. They're saying to you, on one hand, yes, we're going to fix these problems everyone's talking about. What they're really saying is, we're not going to fucking do nothing. You're all shit. And they treat you like shit. Right? Because that's how it works in the system. That's how it always worked. Because they can't give up the responsibility of the system, because that's where they derive all their power. If they were to let us, each of us, take responsibility for our lives by breaking away from these COINTELPSYOP programmings of freedom within, because no longer it's freedom within, because we're not going to set that up as part of the reason why we live every day. We are that freedom. We're the living embodiment of that freedom because we are present to that freedom, and people can experience the presence of that freedom as we experience it with the tree and the bird and everything that's living. The COINTELPSYOP programs of Christians and Jews and Muslims and everyone in race, culture, creed, and we're going to break it down into the everyday lives of people who've been living with us, people who come and stayed with us, and all the other things we've experienced, which this video is we're going to get into some of this stuff. But at the greater scale, the New World Order is being created out of freedom. It's everyone who's gave up that responsibility for creating the unique original man they are, because they are under the original sin. They are processing a curse. They're all lying. And while they claim those beliefs, the Freemasons can administrate them, because the Freemasons aren't making the claims. They let the dupe make those claims. And the real Freemasons use other Freemasons to be the liars. They con others down in through their hierarchical compartments to perform all the bullshit through the Bible and all the holy books and scrolls. See, the holy book can't come forward as a first party to tell us it's the living word of God. So when Bill and Judy come knocking on our front door, and they're Mormons or Seventh-day Adventists or Jehovah's Witnesses or whoever, and they say, look, we've got the living word of God here. And we say, have you? Well, then we don't want you committing fraud. You better bring forward God as the first party. We don't want to hear it coming from both of you, because that means you're committing fraud and slander, because you're acting as an imposter of what can't come forward as a first party, meaning you're acting as the God, as the authorized author of that his story. Your author, I, the all-seeing I, you're in the middle of the his story acting as God, because you can't bring forward God as the first party apart from you. So you act as the God. So you have stolen the fiction of a God to act in the performance of that God, knocking on our front door, saying, I have the living word of God here, and we want you to accept the living word, right? But we know words are ABC 1, 2, 3, because they're letters and form words. They don't live. You can't go anywhere in nature to go and talk to ABC 1, 2, 3. They don't exist. And every word that comes out of it doesn't exist anywhere. They don't live like the trees and the birds and children. And innocent children, not exposed to the system, all this brainwashing, can't go anywhere in nature to experience it. They can only get access to that kind of bullshit by others who get inside their head through explanation about that. Extraction, suggestion, the snake, the snake, the snake, the snake. And that his story is projected as their ego. And they come knocking on our door. We have the living word of God. And I'm saying, you got the living word of fucking nothing. You got bullshit. You're lying. All you are offering is a slave system of slaves. That's all. Because I was to ask him, come and show us in everyday practical sense, how does this living word apply to everyone who believes it? Take me to the living paradise, where no one is in the system, no one is brainwashed, no one is under the spelling, and there's no harm being caused to anything, anywhere. Where the unconditional love reigns supreme. And none of the virtues of unconditional love have been compromised. Please take us now somewhere across Earth where we can see with our own eyes that this is happening. And they can't, because there's fucking nothing. Because they're deluded. They're off in fucking La La Land, these people. Millions of them. Millions and millions of them. Space cadets. Wanting to make slaves of our children. That's why I swear, fuck you. Fuck every one of you do this. Because that's all you're offering is slavery. Because while you're under the spelling of a God in heaven, an almighty Father, the divine, because people use the word divine, the divine fee, we're all under the divine. Freedom is within, fee. Freedom is within. We're going to just give up responsibility. Because those who are on the journey of freedom, those in the magical mystery journeys of the Bible, or the Torah, or the Talmud, or the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gitas, or any other holy books, the Sanskrits of anything, anywhere, or the bullshit that's been dug up out of the Sumerian cultures and all these other rubbish things, all man-made shit. You only got first-party men and women coming forward, acting as liars, providing a commentary. They're performing as the commentaries of the storybooks. But there's no first parties there. So when you read their books and they talk about our ancestors were savages and were cannibals and were brutal, they weren't there. And we weren't there. And they can't bring anyone forward, here and now, who was there. All we can bring forward are other men and women who sold out to the storytelling of that bullshit, acting as expert commentators, right? And we call them scientists. Fucking idiots, all of them. We call them professors. Fucking idiots, all of them. They are. Because they're in a slave system. And they want us lost to accept, by accepting their commentary in third party. So we can all accept, during the journey of our freedom, our slave status and our children. See, no Mormon or Jew or Jehovah's Witness or Christian or Buddhist or anyone in the system can take us anywhere to show us paradise, which shows you that everything they talk about is bullshit. It's fake. And the idea that it's somewhere else means it ain't there, because they can't. If you're not actually being it, living it, how can it be somewhere else? If you don't have life, where is your life? You can't pretend that your life is somewhere else when you're dead here now.
And if we don't live in ways that are deserving of paradise, then we don't deserve it. And it's also, if we haven't created the paradise here and now all around us, then
where is it?
Where is it?
Where is it?
There isn't anywhere else to go to find it. We've got to make it happen here and now around us, or, it's not there.
The denial and apathy to pass the buck to the holy book, to the fantasy of another world. We've got some good friends nearby, great people, but they're lost. They're still in the slave system. They're broken down. They don't have the fight. They don't have the spirit. They're being broken, gone. All they got left is the fantasy of their next life. But they ain't going to be one. If you're already broken down and destroyed, all the fantasies in the world is not going to create a real one for you. If you actually don't create it here and now in this life, there ain't one. You'll never have one. See, the thing is that, listen to what we're saying. Don't believe anything we're saying. Use scrutiny and prove what we're saying. If you feel insulted, it is your problem, not ours. We've had enough through our experiences of what we've been through together. We don't tolerate the shit from each other anymore. We don't accept it. Neither of us are doormat for each other. She will never steal this man again. This man will never steal this woman again. In the system, everybody is stealing someone else because they gave up being it. They gave up being it. So they need to grab it from someone else and wear it like a shirt. And it's fake. And that's the ego. And we live in fantasy, believing in whatever it is we're peddling, in third party, because it's always in third party. So those of you who are watching part 4 in this video, if you've already watched 1 to 3, some of you may watch it a second or third time, up to this point, you may come to see the deception of this, how big this scam is. Now, what it all comes down to is that we are all at a local level, and each of us is living on the land right now, whether you're in apartment blocks, in the cities or suburbs, or wherever you may be. We are on land. And the shit is right there where we are, right now. Mm. And unless we confront this shit and get rid of it, and really get rid of it, purge and expunge it, we will keep giving up the responsibilities to face it. And we start faking that we're good people, faking that we're wise, faking that we're doing the right thing, faking everything, and not willing to face the reality that we are already destroyed and broken down, because that's what we discovered, why there was no community immunity when the family home was being stolen, which meant that we were also broken down. Because how many other people...
If we weren't all broken down, we wouldn't accept what's going on in the system.
We wouldn't accept
people, our neighbours being robbed, or children being hurt, or forests being destroyed. We would not accept that. We'd stand up and we'd say no. All of us
and don't pass the responsibility to someone else. Say, you guys have got to go fix it. No. We go in and we say, fuck off. We're fixing it. You're not going to do that. You're not going to come in amongst and hurt our own brothers and sisters, which is nature as well. You're not going to get away with it, right? But we're so broken down, we pass the buck, so there's no community immunity. We don't have immunity. We have no way to stop it, because we just don't have the confidence and the passion to say no, right? So unless we each heal this, we can't begin to enter the true paradise. And in fact, if we don't do it as a collective, everyone will get sucked into this 1,000-year golden reign prophecies that have been talked about, believing that they're going to enter this new paradise. But that's the New World Order, and it's made up of everyone on the journey of freedom, lost in the psyop programs, the latest versions of these COINTEL spinning, quantum physics, all is one consciousness bullshit within bullshit programs, where they have to still accept a third-party authority to tell them how to think and feel. And their children will still have to be educated, and nothing has changed.
Because if we were offered paradise right now, told, okay, you can go here, here's paradise, off you go, and we all trooped along there, how long would you think it would remain paradise? How long before for a start, there'd be instant. We all want, we've got to build houses, we've got to create sewerage systems, we need the water, we need the electricity, I need my TV, I need to eat the meat, so I've got to start killing the animals. How long would that be paradise?
It won't even start.
Paradise.
It won't even start.
Well, it might have been before we were there.
It won't even have a chance.
No, of course not.
You see, because when you really wake up, there's no refrigeration, no electricity, there's no kitchens anymore, there's no bathrooms. Why? Because nature's everything already. But we're so dumbed down and stupid that we now clothe ourselves. But we not only just clothe ourselves in clothing for our own vanity, and because that's the ego, but we clothe ourselves in all this fakeness, believing that we need the security of electricity so we can have the entertainment and the freedoms of electricity and washing machines and dishwashers, and it goes into motor cars and petrol and all the other stuff. If we take any one bit of this stuff, just one bit, even if we call it free energy, which is not free, if we accept any of it, we bring the whole system with it as well, to destroy everything. Because that's what's happened here. Our ancestors were in paradise. Total paradise. Because that's why it's still life exists, because the essence of that magnificence is still amongst us. Even though we're doing the best now to break it down and completely destroy it. So the working relationship, everything of nature can't work anymore. And when that all collapses, we have an annihilation beyond comprehension for all of us, right? So this magnificence that we really are means we have to walk away from everything that's in third party. Electricity in third party. Cars, motor cars, aeroplanes, trains in third party. Petrol, oil in third party. Free energy, third party. Because they do not exist. They're not an animal. They're not the sunlight. They're not the living soil. They're not the life force energy of the crystals and the natural minerals undisturbed in the mountainsides and hillsides. Right? They're not the living water that runs as the rivers and streams. They're not the breeze through the trees. These things in third party are make-believe. ABC 1, 2, 3. Physical material constructs made into material forms, right? To give the impression that they exist. But it means we have brainwashed children to act as that. That's like little Mary now having to act Alice in Wonderland. Because the reality is we are lost in fairy tales. So if we want to break away, we've got to realize, open our eyes, the harm in all its forms, and face the nightmare of your doubt and uncertainty and what is stopping you from making the great leap back to your magnificence. Because you already had it as a child, and they got you so young. And that's all that's been holding you back ever since. And they filled up that void with bullshit mysteries and all sorts of distractions. You name it, the system is full of this junk. Gambling, sport, fashion, masturbation, sex, pornography. You name it. There's 1,001 of these things that come at you in many ways. All of the ego, all in third party. Because the ego's in third party. Third party means it's a lie and it is fraud. And it ain't real. Just like we say about God, with the living word. God can't come forward as a first person. We can sense it. We can listen to God talk to us directly in front of us. Just like when we hear the wind blowing or the sun shining. Right? Everything in third party is what's destroying everything. So if we fall into Alice and to perform as Alice, we have to destroy the living, because the living is no longer present to us. We don't see the living. The living is no longer on our radar. Only the fantasy of our projections of the ego into the matrix is on the radar. But that radar is in third party. So everything in that radar is fake. And yet we filter everyone we meet through this third party fiction radar system that we've created. And if they don't meet what we believe, we have to discard it. Oh, no. They're not the right ones. They're wrong. My third party storytelling is the right one. My fairy tale is true. And like little kids, they go to war and they play cowboys and Indians, and we really do destroy each other over these lies. So the fraud of this doubt and uncertainty that's played out is the denial, is the apathy, is the rage, is the lack of confidence, it's the hatred. It's everything you could possibly put words to and relate to an experience you've had of the hell. The horror of hell, the raging fires of hell in each of our brothers and sisters, in each of all of us. Because that is how we play out our lives in the system. Because that's all that is going on. We are just destroyers of who we are and destroying everything we love. Everything we say we love, we are destroying. We've had millions of good people who love their children. But look at the mess through the generations. My family, my grandparents, great-grandparents, all yours, everyone else. If there was just one truth, guys, one truth, passed down through word of mouth, you'd think by now we'd all be living as the children of paradise. But that hasn't happened. This shows you how deep the denial goes, how deep the apathy goes, how deeply broken down we are. And the Freemasons rely on you being broken and lost in free dumb journeys to control you and rule you, where they get all the power. So if you don't want to stay in Babylon and you want to no longer be a ward of the state and be this emotional destructive who needs counselling and psychiatry and needs to be big pharma chemicalised, who needs to be told how to live in this fake world, and you spend your whole life. And you see it in the commercials that men are dumb and stupid. They're just looking at women as sex objects, and women are just these sexual things, and and the older people are just dumb and stupid, and there's no wisdom there. And you see the breaking down in all the commercials. You see all this.
And the kids know everything and have the bright sparks and
yeah, exactly. And yet and so they become arrogant and they think that they have the world owes them everything. So what happens is that in the whole collection of this, if you don't step back and break away from this complete fucking brainwashing and start realizing if you want to create a working, living relationship without the harm, each of us has got to take responsibility to stop it. It means we stop being fake. Stop talking consciousness. Stop faking it. You got to stop being it. Stop faking that you're good when actually you're not at all. Each of us. We hide and hide. Earlier this year, Arthur contacted a Greek priest through my mother, because my mother wanted to talk to a priest, because she was concerned about us going to hell, because my mother's Greek Orthodox.
She still is.
Yeah, it still is. So finally we contacted a priest, a good bloke, a really good man, who's got 800 homes, families, underneath his area of responsibilities. We got talking. We started getting into these things we talk about. And he took a lot of interest. He said that he was very interested, especially about the sexual abuse, what's happening with children, all that. But when we started getting down to the nitty-gritties, he spun out. He couldn't no longer listen to this man anymore, or listen to Fiona or anything. He had to start attacking our characters and start saying that we're psycho. That's all he had. And we asked him, is that all you got on offer? Have you not bothered to look at what we're saying, what we're talking about, and prove what we're saying are lies? To show us if we're wrong and back it up. He couldn't do any of that. He couldn't do any of it. All he could do was address that we're psychos. But no evidence to back it. Now we are secure enough, we don't take it personally. But this is my mother underneath this guy's guardianship, because my mother has spent 50 years in the church, giving her whole life to these people. And let me tell you, if you're the father who listens to this, you're not only a fucking liar, but your remedy that you told me was a bunch of Greek priests in their monasteries setting themselves up away from the system. But you fucking lot are using all your fucking slaves from all these 800 Greek families, all these fucking family homes everywhere, for them to set up as a sanctuary, a protection from the chaos of what's coming. But none of that could have happened without your slaves. Without you spending all those years living off these slaves.
And it's men only.
And it's men only. Supposedly closed off. And he said there's quite a few of them.
Sustainable.
And it's sustainable.
Yeah, so they...
And I said, but what about all the families, all the children, everyone, everywhere? What happens to all these people? He could not fucking answer it. And this guy's acting as an authority, a guide to these Greek people. He's a fucking lunatic. He's a lunatic. Because the reality is, he is the one who's got the problem. Now listen, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But he does not give a fuck. And all the priests around him do not give a fuck about all the victims they've been living off all those years. This happens in Greece as well. And in Russian Orthodox. It happens in every religion, guys. This shit. The priests aren't going to help you.
The Buddhist monks live off the villages.
Yeah. They're not going to help you. It's a fucking slave system, and it's a cop-out. This priest is totally in denial and apathy. He is in the synagogue of Satan, representing the synagogue of Satan. He's lying to fucking everyone, and he wears black. They all wear black. Telling you the truth. They're not lying to you. And we're not lying to you. Now, we're not attacking the man, the soul, because if he wakes up from this, he has to start to purge and take responsibility. But if the priests act like this, and the politicians act like this, and the judges who wear black act like this, and they're telling everyone, we don't give a fuck, you're all scum. What chance have you got if you're relying on these people? Right, because they control the universities who wear their black caps, their black clothing. It's a cult of death. It's black. It's satanic. Disguised as God and Jesus representatives. Fucking slave masters running slave systems within slave systems. And they're running around being nice people. Now, you know who you are. Prove to us that we're lying. Show us the remedy you got. Father? Any father? Brother? Sisters? Eastern Order Star? Knights Templars? You're fucking heroes? Gonna rescue all the damsels in distress? Where are you to set man free from this fucking nightmare? You won't find them. They run. They hide because they're gutless. And they live off all their fucking slaves. They make money from all their slaves without the intention to set them all free. Some of them have got good hearts and they want to, but they're still powerless. And while they're still on the journey of freedom, because you have to be on the journey of freedom to be a fucking priest or a politician or a judge. They're all on the fucking lunatic journey of freedom. All of them. But it gets worse than this. Everyone we meet, those we've lived with, including us, we have been those fucking lunatics. Because we won't take responsibility. We're so broken down. We're so scared. How many of... I have friends, some whose parents were bishops. Vast tracts of land they own. Living off slave systems. Destroyed traditional man on the land. Got to keep a blind eye. I've got to protect my trusts, my foundations. Because my children, my lives, and my family's future is all that matters. You wonder how much their conscience hurts deep down inside, these people. Especially those with lots of supposed wealth. The gates of hell opened for this man to be a multimillionaire. This man could have gone down those roads and be a multimillionaire and join the Masons and be one of them. Never. We'll never sell out. The Greek community is very powerful in Australia. They may be the most powerful, more than even the Jews. They dominate the most pivotal areas, even in politics. In Canberra, they control the whole of fucking Canberra. Greeks. They really do. They control heaps of it. And they're high-level Freemasons, many of them. And they connect the higher ones into the German bloodlines, the Merovingian House of Windsor bloodlines. They're not Greeks as we talk Greeks. They're a bastardized version because of the Genghis Khan reading all the women as they went through Europe, and all the Turks and all the others. We're not talking about those because they're not Greeks. That's brainwashing. We're talking about these traditional bloodlines, the aristocracy of the original tribe that spread out all across Earth.
Like Prince Philip is Greek.
Yeah, exactly. The Mountbatten families have got Greek heritage, and it goes into German. All of them. They're all of ancient Greece. Because, see, Egypt is the system. Egypt is Freemasonry. Ancient Egypt is Freemasonry. Freemasonry is the system. That's what it is. That's what ancient Egypt... That's why you see ancient Egyptian and ancient Greek architecture and in everything of the system, of the Western world. Because it is Freemasonry. It is Satan's universe. Right? They all, remember this, they're all in the image of the snake. Right? They all had royal families divinely appointed by God, the snake. The high priesthoods divinely appointed by God, the snake. They all had the rule of law of God, the snake. They're all under the directives and controls of the fucking snake. Then they all had read and write alphabet languages created by the snake and the worshippers of the snake cult, the death cult. They all had mathematics and geometry, sacred geometry, all are of the snake. And all six of these abominations, right? Fucking lies and liars. So the Greek church comes out of this abomination. It's a synagogue. It's of the synagogue of hell, of the devil, of Satan. That's what it is. Because Lucifer is the intellect. Right? When we talk about the synagogue of hell and the synagogue of Satan, all that, we're talking about black magic, thought control. All the stuff we've already covered in these videos. And if you can't see this, if you can't wake up and see your way through this, how are you ever going to return to true freedom and wake up and be the living freedom, be the living consciousness and radiate that out? If the sun isn't already radiating out and being that light, that love, then there ain't no sun there, because all those rays are now turning back on self, and where that light, where that love, everything is now turned into a black hole. And that is what you call someone raised in Babylon. Everyone under the name. Self-centered, broken down, greedy, selfish, mine. I want mine. I need my bit. I need my security. I need my pension plan. I need my retirement plan. I need my superannuation.
I need my media room while other people live on the streets.
Yeah, it goes on and on and on. The hypocrisy. So we have to, those of us who really want to do something, we have to let it all go. And together create, in present sense, a living paradise. Because if we don't, there is no way to counter the annihilation of man's death that's right before our eyes now. It's happening. That's how quick it's going to happen. And very few of us will be around like that. Because we're not present. And we're saying, we're not present. And Earth creates that because we dream that. It's in our image, in our likeness, because we're in love with that. So we have people who come and visit us, some who live with us. So this horror that we've just explained is just one example with the Greek church and my mother, where you cannot see any remedy for my mother. And the whole purpose, he was going to communicate with my mother in Greek, for my mother to comprehend what Fiona and I are doing, what's happened to us. Right? So we're going to do it another way. You know, there are other Greek people who want to do this. So we'll when the time opportunity presents, my mother will be given full disclosure in full Greek so she can comprehend what has happened. She doesn't have to agree with it or anything. But at least we want Mum to know what's going on, what makes us tick. Because she doesn't comprehend what's going on at this point. And she's a very good woman. As most people in all religions are. So we're going to start getting now closer to home, because this stuff that's played out in the theatre on the staged act of life through the system, which is played out in the media and Hollywood and everywhere else, we're now going to zoom it into our everyday life with very people who've been closely involved with us. And I think Fia, you want to start this one?
Well, it's more along the lines of the fakeness of how someone can be saying all the right things, and it's out of a longing, because that's what they want in their dreaming. So they're saying all the right things about what they want to do and what they want to support and how they want to live.
Because of a sense of approval issue, because their sense of belonging.
Well, I was going to get round to that, so just hang on.
Yeah.
But so they're talking all about the right things, about how they want to do kingdom, how they want this or want that and want the other. But inside, because that is actually what they want, but what's happening inside is still so much fear and worry and, yes, they're needing approval and all this sort of stuff, that it's actually fake when they're saying all this, because inside they still don't have the determination that that's how they're going to live despite all their stuff. Okay, we've all got the stuff we bring along to our dreams and to whatever, but having that determination to keep going whatever. Whereas what you've got, a lot of people who they think they want it, but they don't have that determination that that's actually what's going to make, and that makes everything they're talking about false. Every time they might be typing on the internet talking about giving support to people and you might want to do this, it's fake because they're not doing it themselves. There's nothing in it themselves.
There's someone that we've gotten to know, and they basically told us that they don't want to change. They actually want to they've already attempted suicide before, and basically they want to stay there. They don't want to leave it. That's what they said. That's what they've said to us. And we're just sitting going, oh my God. The thing is, you imagine living in a home like us under our situation, and I'm sitting here, and someone decides in their dark places they're going to commit suicide. And this man felt it and gets up and goes to that person to find them contemplating doing it and catch them and stop them. Right? Now, day after day after that, the burden that we carry is such that we are responsible while they're in this family home, while we're committed to this work. We're not going to let anyone commit suicide with us, because we're not about that. The pressure, I want to finish this, the pressure on us is such, and being man, we can only cope so much. And I've had moments where I've just unloaded. No excuses, just unloaded. Because it's this weakness, this incredible hopelessness that just drives this man bananas. And I'm learning to find peace with it, but I don't want to be sanitized from it. I mean, if I'm going to feel the rage, I prefer to feel the rage of this hopelessness. Because the passion never to go there, never to have my children surrender and be that weak that they want to do that. That the fight in them, to have the fight, the passion to just push through and never give up. And that stuff really does this man's head in. It really does. It's happened quite a few times with people who fake that they are good and kind and lovely, but the reality is they fucking hate themselves. They fucking hate who they are, and they keep looking for reasons to act out conflict to prove that they are right, that they are shit and scum.
And then, guess who the bad guys are?
Us.
That's what I was about to
Us.
say. We've had, in fact, we are getting more and more cautious about who, we used to be open. Anyone can come visit. Anyone can come and stay for a bit. Anyone can come, whatever. We've realised we can't do that anymore, because while we have someone in the house who will not take responsibility for their lives, that means we have to. And we've had a few young people come, all of whom have issues.
We've had quite a few young people.
And we realise now that the responsibility of that is actually massive. I mean, not under 18 in the bullshit law, but you know, they're adults when they come, but they're still very young. To us, they're children, you know, they could be our children. And realising that if they're not going to take responsibility for their lives in how they behave and everything, then that means they're putting that responsibility onto us. And so if they then, through all their shit, they go away feeling disgruntled, feeling they've been used and abused because they've done some work in the garden, and we've usually spent hours talking to them about all their stuff, I was on the phone before they come, hours when they get here, and then they go away, oh no, they were this, they were that, which has happened. And you're just thinking, have you just forgotten what was done for you when you came here? And yes, they do. They completely forget, because they get disgruntled because they got bored working in the garden.
This is the ego at play.
And this is a scenario we've had repeat quite a lot. Oh, I can't cope with the hard work. I can't cope with that. And we're thinking, well, the hard work you've done in the garden is nothing compared to the hard work that we have put into them. And so we're really getting to the point now, we're going, okay, from here on, we are sure someone can come for a day or come and stay the night.
We're becoming more brutal. We are becoming,
yeah.
we're like axes who are just axing right through the bullshit, and we're not going to muck around.
But someone's always welcome to come and drop in if they're passing by, or come for a visit, or stay a couple of nights or something. That's not an issue, because it's just short and sweet. But if someone's saying, yes, I want to do kingdom, I want to come and stay, it's like, whoa, you've got to be really sure you know what you're getting into, really sure that you know what it's all about, and absolutely 100% sure that you can take full responsibility, so you don't turn around and start blaming other people for all your problems and everything that you're feeling and thinking all the time, and therefore taking up lots and lots of time from us, getting us really distracted from all the things that we need to get going, all the projects that are happening. We've always got so much to do.
Look, let's just look. This is to wind this into to bring it down. When you don't take responsibility for be that happiness, to be that freedom, to be that joy, to be that consciousness, to be that equal team player, if you do not take that full responsibility here and now in present sense, then you throw it out. And now you're placing it on someone else who has to dress it for you. They have to fashion it for you, so you wear it. And that's what happens with most young people. And they then set up conflicts. They need the conflict because they're projecting the ego into the matrix where they have bonded their fake lives in all their lives. Be it with iPods or not, doesn't matter what you've been brought up with. If you have been projecting the fakeness of this illusion, because it's all explanation projected, and you can't walk the talk, and you can't live it.
And also they're faking all the right things to say about everything that's going on. Oh yes, I really agree
spiritual.
with that. I mean, we've had and we can see it so often. We can see through it. You know, they're going, oh yeah, I really want to do this. Yes, that's great. And you can see it's not real. They don't really think that, but generally they haven't got the guts to turn around and say, no, actually, I disagree, which is fine. We don't mind people disagreeing. To turn around and say, no, I disagree. And the reason they're scared of that is as well because we're going to turn around and say, that's fine, but why? Show us where you're wrong. Show us where what we're saying is wrong. And they can never show us where we're wrong, so then they're stuck in a
because they're in a victim mentality all their life, because as children they were bastardized so young, so that their dreaming for the creation of the man has been built out of doubt and uncertainty. So all they know is doubt and uncertainty all their lives. And if they've been sexually abused, which some of them have been, and some of them probably terribly sexually abused, and again, going back to Fiona and I, the work we did on each other with being each other's baseball bats, and we worked through this. We didn't run away. We kept going where truth took us till we became free of these burdens. So I wasn't burdening her anymore, and she wasn't burdening me. In that way, we still push I still push her, please, I need your help with these things to do with whatever we're doing with the work. That's different, because we can do that, because we're all taking responsibility and delegating responsibilities for the common goal. But in this case, when you get people who don't take the responsibility on for their joy and their happiness and for their freedom, it ain't going to be present to you, no matter how many minutes they spend with you, like how long they stay with you, no matter how they live with you. If they are not be prepared to be present to that freedom, to that joy, to that and be it.
Because they're waiting for us to make them
exactly,
happy,
and so exactly, which means
us to pick them up when they're down.
And their tantrums. Get this the right way. We're not attacking you or anyone.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. But
have been there.
But the point is, the real reality is to stop being the fucking ego and start living it and being it. Stop blaming everyone else for how you are. Stop running away. Because the very thing you dream for means you have to walk the talk and live it and be it, which means you have to be secure enough so constructive criticism can happen in working relationship, but nothing goes personal. It goes right through. We just sit and observe and learn from it. Okay, or maybe I can improve in certain ways, because that's what wisdom keepers do. We challenge each other. We challenge each other to grow and become better, not to sit down and waste our lives on the darkness of the ego, and that's as far as it goes. All we can do is work with someone's ego, but not threaten it. We can't threaten it. We can't go outside of it. And that's the control freak mechanism. That's the power trips. That's every facet of the system. The amount of young people who come here arrogant, thinking they got it all and they worked it out. They don't know what it is to be free to work hard. They don't know what it is to carry the responsibilities to create paradise as them and share that abundance with others.
They certainly don't know what it is to realise that they are young, they don't have that much experience, and that there are people around them who have way, way, way more experience and have spent years and years, like in our case, working at what we've been working for. So perhaps it might be an idea to at least listen to those older, wiser people before, just deciding, oh, no, so rubbish. No.
See, the ego loves the storytelling of consciousness, the storytelling of kingdom, the storytelling of freedom, the storytelling of everything that resonates. So the ego comes and wants to place itself in that. But because it's trauma-based, the host, the victims of those who are directly controlled by the directives of the ego, eventually turns to trauma, because the living consciousness is not there, because it's a fantasy. The living freedom ain't there, because it's a fantasy, because they're still in freedom. Their consciousness is dumb. Everything is dumb. The pride kicks in. The shame kicks in. The vanity kicks in. They don't like other people to see me like that. Oh my God. I don't want anyone else to think to me like that. I don't want people, because I spent years faking as being someone who knows how to talk about consciousness and how to help other people. This is amazing amongst young people. They are so badly broken down.
Which is also, of course, why we say, oh, yeah, that's a lovely haircut, when we're really thinking, oh, God, I much preferred it when her hair was like that. All those fake things we all do in the system when we have these chats and chits with people, and we're not honest. We're not at all honest. And, yes, some of it comes from because we don't want to hurt their feelings and all this sort of stuff. But it's built up into a much more sinister thing where we're fake on important levels as well.
Yeah. They go after the living and bring the living down. You know, it's that Australian, what tall poppy
syndrome.
syndrome, which happens everywhere across Earth. They have to go after someone stronger because the demon is threatened. The demon that is the ego that possesses them is threatened by someone who's stronger, because the one who's stronger doesn't have the demon that controls them. So the host that carries the ego is now threatened, and the demon inside them goes berserk. Please, 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 I don't want to lose my power over you. I've got to set up rackets and routines to stop you having this relationship with these stronger people. We don't want this demon that I am to be taken out of you, my host, because then I have nothing anymore. I'm gone. I'm nothing. And here we are with someone we've known for a long time now, says, I don't want to give it up. Crying. I don't want to change. I don't want to let it go. And I'm sitting going, oh my God. Oh my God. So, we love our hell. We love the sexual abuse we went through as kids. We love the fucking trauma. We love the hatred that we are. We love people not loving us. We love everything that's wrong about us, and we don't let it go. So you cannot go to kingdom without going through the mudroom to face this nightmare and let it go.
And the thing is, doesn't actually have to be hard. It's as hard as we make it.
Exactly.
The more we hang on and hang on and hang on, the harder it is. But we also are quite capable of going, okay, I'm going to tackle it and I'm going to face it and I'm going to let go of it.
To get this out of my shoulders, we have all spent, you think of it, day after day, the hours we spend practicing lying, practicing faking, practicing being dishonest, practicing being the fraud that we commit, practicing, and we do it from babies because we are broken down already at that point. And that's all we know. If you're 30, you've spent 30 years practicing every day, all day, every day, even in your sleep. If you're 50 years and you're brought up like that, that's all you know. You can't expect someone to suddenly go, I'm stepping out of that. Now I'm going to be kingdom, paradise, and be the very thing Anastasia or Jesus or Buddha in the true essence, right? As the walking, talking, living man. So we need to orientate through practice. We set up orientation where we set goals and steps how to change these deep fucked patterns. And you who watch these videos, you can't go to kingdom unless you do it. You can't come from the system and think you're going to return to paradise if you have not practiced this on an ongoing basis until you alter your habits completely, until you're egoless.
Which means you've got to look at your thought patterns. You've got to look at the disasters you get yourself into, the conflicts you create, and go backwards and think, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? And you start to recognize the patterns, or the patterns that lead you into a downward slope where you feel hopeless and helpless. The patterns that lead you to be destructive, either physically or just emotionally and mentally. What are the trigger points? Because there are always trigger points.
There's heaps of them, but they marinate. Those trigger points marinate. They marinate the darkness. They sit there dwelling on the what happened to them of that history. I'm not good enough. And so they react and they start arguing because they don't to cover it up. I've got to cover it up, compensate. And so they compensate and they fucking compensate and they compensate. That's why they suicide. That's why they suicide, because they got to compensate the horror of what has been done to them, because they believe that they're fucked, that they believe that they're scum, they believe that they're shit. And they've been living the fakeness because they see the fake commercials on TV and all the happiness and joys and the social comedies and everything everywhere they go.
It's
because they're looking outside the fucking fence at everyone else thinking Joe Blow has got a better life, not knowing that they're all fucked in the head as well. Everyone in the whole fucking system's fucked in the head.
It's like the system can only bring us unhappiness, but under the system it's a crime. It's a crime to be unhappy. It really is. You know, everyone's got to say all the time, oh yeah, I feel great. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, great. I'm fantastic. Even though you're feeling like absolute rubbish. That's what you got to say. And we all do the fake thing of, hi, how are you? When no one really cares. When you go to the shops, hi, how are you? No one really cares. Everyone knows they've just been told to say that because that's their job and they have to ask how people are. And we go round and round and round. And it's funny how you sit and talk to someone and they've started with a yes, everything's great, everything's fine, everything's wonderful. And then after a while, you get to you really get to they start telling you all the complaints about their life, all the problems, all the things that are wrong. So they're not really fine. They're not really happy.
We've had situations where we've spent with some people multiple hundreds of intense hours of counselling. Notice we don't charge, just love, sharing wisdom as we've learned, which is what we all should be doing, because we're all wisdom keepers in that way. It's a responsibility to bring that love to the children so that they don't have to go through it, because they learn through observation and using rationality and thinking, and they can dream lives that where they embrace everything that we've experienced, because they can sense it and they can actually expand their consciousness. But if the doubt is so strong in someone, and some of these young people, the doubt is so strong, and that they spend so long giving all their energy to the ego to prompt up, because the ego's become the shield where they are protected and feel safe in, because it's all they got left. Everything else about who they are was destroyed, completely destroyed. So when you start using the pin to prick the bubble of the ego, all hell breaks loose for these young people and older people. And then, oh my God, I have to face my own shit now. I can't hide anymore, because with us, no one can come and hide anymore. We're picking it up quick, and we're telling them, quick, stop faking. Stop. We're not your gods. We're not your masters. We're just committed to being real. Can you be real? When our children start mimicking some silly stuff, especially our youngest one, can you please talk with your real voice? We don't want you to act like that, because I don't want you to think they're the norms. That's not you. Be who you are, really. When you're talking to others who are so badly broken down and their confidence is so deeply shattered, it's understandable or comprehensible what they have to go through to face the nightmare of the lie they have lived all their lives up until the point they've got to stop being that liar and stop committing fraud by pretending that they are conscious, pretending that they are good, pretending that they are wise, pretending all the things, because they are all a front to compensate for that loss of what they feel about themselves. And this is what we're seeing with young people. When you prick the bubble of the ego, and the meaning the ego has got nowhere to perform anymore, because we're not giving it any energy. And we're looking right through them, and they know we're looking right through them. They're stripped naked. They're stripped naked. And we all have got to do this for each other, so that there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run.
And that doesn't mean it has to be aggro, confrontational, this, but just we've got to be able to point it out to each other without getting into persecution of each other as well. Again, it always becomes this line of, you don't want to be persecuting someone, but at the same time, if we're going to all move forward together, we've got to do this.
We don't want to fake anything. The thing is, to meet the dreams that we dream for of true paradise, true community and all that, means we have to end all this. We have to end this trauma, this nightmare, because the whole system is built out of this shit. You cannot have the system without this shit, because it's all fake, it's illusory. But it means the emotions have to be confronted, because they are illusions. We've never hurt these people. We've never done anything to hurt them. They pretend through the conflict to project that hurt onto us and act out in their radar, because they're projecting their radar us. And because of this, they may think that there's imagined slights about us going back through their childhood. And so they kidnap us and they put us into their radar, where their ego is projected, really, which is the matrix, the sandpit, the goldfish in the fishbowl, and they perform it there. Now, if we don't snap them out of the spells, they'll think that they are continuing to be victims, continuing to be persecuted, continuing to be made wrong, continuing to be told that they're not good enough, continuing receiving the validation that they're shit and scum. Right? And when you are strong like we are, especially this man who's really strong as a strong character in that way, it's an easy target to come after a man like this, to blame, right? But we've learnt the wisdom now. We don't let them get away with this anymore, because I'm never going to let anyone treat this man as a doormat. But unless we get enough of us together who are strong enough to get past all this shit, there ain't going to be a remedy to get away from it. And no saviour's going to come along to fix it, because we are each our saviour. It means full responsibility. We've got to fix it. This is what we're seeing before our very eyes of some of these young people. Seeing and going, oh my God, I've got nowhere to hide to fake anymore. Oh my God, where am I? Who am I? Underneath it, I'm not even there. Because all that's been all my life is this fakeness. Oh my God, I'm so scared, I'm so frightened. What happens if there's nothing there? What happens if they're lying to me? What happens if I've been tricked? What happens? Did you realise the shit that goes on in people's heads about this sort of crap? It's amazing, and adults do it all the time. And that's why we don't know how to come together. Because we're fucking scared. We're so selfish, so greedy, so me, mine. No wonder we need the system. Because it's the system that is the fake order to protect all the fake chaos, and everyone is bonded
to protect us from each other.
To protect us from each other. And yet, while we keep doing this shit, we need the system. Which means if you want to break away from slavery, if you want to break away from children being slaves, right, you have to give up the shit. Because if you don't, then you need a world of slaves. Because you're still in the system as a slave with all your emotional shit, with everybody else's emotional shit. And everyone's treated like crap. Doesn't matter how rich or poor, they all go through shit too. We've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes, all this shit. So, this video was to point out that the journey to paradise is not a fantasy. It's a responsibility in an everyday practical sense to walk the talk and to have these honest discussions where Fiona doesn't wait for the right time anymore. She just comes and says, Arthur, bang, 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 bang. I don't like what you did. I don't like what you said. What does it matter? I might just fob her off. But I stop and think about it. I might go back and apologise and say, you know, you're right. I get it. I'm sorry the way I behaved. I have done it many times.
He's quite good at apologising.
Yeah.
He's better than me.
But the point is that it doesn't matter the makeup. We're all different. I don't have the confidence. I don't have the confidence to handle 10 different things at one time. I feel I can only handle 9. So
more like 1.
So
I'm the multitasker.
No, I get paranoid. I go, oh my God, I can't cope. I don't want any more demands on my... Fee, please rescue me from this. Please handle some of these responsibilities. Because I don't want to lose my train of thought.
If we had $1 for every time you'd said that, we'd be doing all right.
We'd be the stock market. We need to be able to laugh at all this. And those of you who, you know who we're talking about, and all of you who come along to watch these videos, and there's more to come. We're going to go even more. We'd like to get more into the role-playing of this crap at some point. Probably after we do the ebook and we get enough people really committed, maybe we'll get, as many of them will be good actors, and we'll set up role-playing roles. It's like that one we saw with that one with the nail on the girl's head. That video out there, and she says,
it's not about the nail.
It's not about the nail.
You look for it on YouTube. You don't have to tell them everything about it. Look for it. Google it. It's not about the nail. It's really funny and very, very, very... It's only very short, a couple of minutes, but painfully true.
Yeah.
Really painfully true. Yeah,
because this is the scam.
It's apathy and denial.
It's apathy and denial, and it plays out in 1,001 ways. If we want to break away from this, you've got to not get caught up in the freedom within or the freedom is without, and all the key words, buzzwords out there of that suck you in under your ego, dreaming for these things, because they're not going to rescue you. Because the New World Order is made out of all the space cadets who are going to go like that to it. Because the New World Order is not made up out of people taking full responsibility for their lives. Because you don't need it then. Because we are it. Each of us. We would never step the boundary to harm another man. And we will never be greedy or selfish because we are the generosity and abundance of that unconditional love that makes us what we are like that. And we don't have to pretend or fake it because we're living it and being it. Right? And that's true kingdom, true paradise. To get back to that, to come from the system, we've got to go through all this shit. So some of these, like part 3 and part 4, is now showing you some of these scenarios. And our daughters will watch these videos at some point so they can see what their parents have been going through. Because they also get busy and they don't have all the, the time that we spend on this work. I guess that's it for now.
Yep.
We'll get on and make another video again shortly and continue this process. Goodbye.
Bye.
Within our world, watching dreams without blue skies floating by. Why are the grey clouds forming overhead? Forming overhead. I'm trying to breathe. I'm following the path mapped out from the start. Why do my dreams keep moving out of sight? Moving out of sight. Ooh, I'm trying to fly, but where's the light that keeps me down? Sunshine that I seek shines faintly through the smoke. Layers of fantasy, images that blind us to our lives. Blind us to our lives. And I'm trying to see, I'm juggling with my things, I'm struggling with the cold. And I'm spinning in a vortex of burning wells, of burning wells. Ooh, and my head's on fire. Oh, where's the love inside my heart to wake me up from storyland, from my deep sleep? We'll save the forest, we'll save the mountains, we'll save the ocean when we save our lives. We'll save the children, we'll save the old ones, we'll save our earth when we save our lives. By doing no harm. Ooh. We're living for the love that lights up in our hearts. We're living for the dream of a world of do no harm. We're living for our kin, our tribe of conscious men. We're living for the truth, no more waiting for saviors.